Is there a reason why you're wearing a beard?
Right, because right now I don't really. Right.
Hello and welcome to At His Pace. And today we are discussing today we are discussing parenting on the same page using two different fonts. So this topic came up because I was talking to one of my girlfriends about the challenges that are involved in raising this next generation and the difficulties and the struggles that we have sometimes and how we get into conflict in marriage because we have different approaches. And ultimately, at the end of that conversation, we realize and recognize that we as married couples are not going to ever have the same approach necessarily when it comes to raising our children, but that's the way maybe God intended it. Like he wants us to have different approaches. So he wants us to be on the same page when we come to raising our children, but our approaches or our fonts may be a little bit different. So I might have, what's a font? Calibri,
That's not
and
fine.
Times New Roman.
You're gonna take my font, huh?
Well, I'm just saying we have different fonts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree. And we are different. Very different when it comes to raising our daughter.
You think we're very different?
Yes.
Okay. Share.
I don't have anything to share right now. I can't think of anything.
How are we different in terms of how we reprimand her?
I think I'm more patient and less of a screamer. Or less of than getting loud, and so I'll talk it through. And I had to learn that.
Okay, you can go on and say, what am I?
I think you're 0 to 60. It's like either you're 0 or you're 60. But I will say that your approach has been different, and you have tried something different over the last 30 days. So everything before the 30 days, we're not going to talk about. But the last 30 days, I think your approach has been different. And I think you recognize that, and you made a correction, and you made an adjustment.
I don't think anything was wrong with what I was doing. I liked my font just fine.
Well, yeah, your font was good. It was little. You needed 12 or 14.
Well, here's the deal. I think in terms of parenting, Mark talked about patience. I don't know if it's patience, but one of the things that I think that we have done or struggled with in our relationship in terms of parenting is I was raised that if you tell somebody to do something the first time, that there's no second chance, right? And I remember that one of Aaron's kindergarten teachers told us that I was observing Erin at school, and she was doing everything that people asked her to do upon the first command or request. And I mentioned, like, what? It takes her 3 or 4 times to do something that I asked her to do. Why is that so? And the teacher simply said, because that's the way you trained her. So I think some of my frustration comes in that I've always been that person. Do this, do this, do this. And so by the time I've said do this the 4th time, yeah, more than likely it's going to be a yell or a scream. And I do think that you may not scream with that, or you may have the ability to tolerate that a little bit differently than I do. But I still think at the end of the day, that we both desire that our child be obedient. And obedience simply is doing something right away, all the way with the right heart. And I think that's where I struggle.
And honestly, depending on how your kid's behavior is, a lot of times it's a reflection of you and what's going on in the house. And so I think we talked about this in an earlier video. If my communication is all over the page and I have not properly modeled what my expectations are and done it consistently, then I get what I get. And so as much as I want to, point the finger at my teenage daughter, I have to actually point the finger at myself to ask myself, what have I not communicated in the proper manner? What have I not modeled in the proper manner? And how can I improve that? And once I recognize that, then I can make the necessary adjustments to do better. But if you don't recognize that, then we're going to continually get mad about a behavior that, one, we didn't set the parameters or the borders about what's expected. We didn't model it, or that we properly trained it, and depending on how long we let it go, Now you're talking about a behavior that's going to be possibly hard to break. And so it's important that you reflect on yourself and see where you can make the corrections within yourself. And 9 times out of 10, that's usually where it always is. We have to focus on ourselves first and then go outward. But we always want to go outward and then come inward. And that's not really productive all the time.
Yeah, and I think we want immediate results.
Yes.
And God doesn't operate like that with us. He often uses examples like our children to mimic what we are doing with him in our relationship. And so I think
Yes.
that's what you were saying.
And that
So
hurts.
that is something that I have done in the last couple of days. It's like, God, show me in this. Show me where I am replicating this behavior in my relationship with you. And so that has helped me to calm down. But I do think also during this transition from a preteen to a teen, I wasn't ready for that jump. And so it made it challenging and difficult for me. But here's the deal. You can parent differently. You can raise your children differently, but ultimately the goal has to be the same. So just because you write in a certain font and I write in a certain font, the end of the story is that we want to raise a productive, successful, beautiful, God-fearing child. And
Yes.
that is the end of the story that we need to both write. And it doesn't matter what font it is written in
Or whose computer is on.
or who saves the file.
Or how many words in the file.
You just got to get the last word, huh? All right. So we hope that helps you in your parenting. You can parent differently.
Yes.
You can parent.
Whoop that child.
You can parent. I was trying to say, you confused me. You can parent on the same page and
Yes.
write in two different fonts
You absolutely can.
at the end of the day.
And be very productive. Be well and be blessed.